It's 6 o'clock on a Saturday. Let's do this. Good evening, Hampton Roads. Good evening, Northeast North Carolina. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of WTKR News 3 Television, and you are watching First Warning Live, a special edition on a Saturday, because the coastal storm is here. Ding dong! You know, like when you get house guests, and I know that you know what that's like. Even though it's still at the door, it's not like when the guest has got its feet up on the couch. You know what I'm saying? This is an unwelcome house guest. This storm happens to occur on our weekend, and if you need a bird's eye view, take a look behind me. You can see this storm. It's moving up along the coast, and it's already had impacts in places like Georgia, South Carolina. I can see clearly now that this is moving up in our direction. The Outer Banks has been dealing with it too. As we zoom in a little bit tighter, I wanted to show you the bird's eye view so that if you are traveling tonight, you are going to see a gradual decrease in weather conditions. It's going to deteriorate, and I will be going on here for the next probably 30 minutes or more. I want to leave time for questions for you, because if you'd like to participate, some of you have watched this before, I can actually interact with you. Put your comment right on the screen, and we can pause. We can redirect the focus of what we're covering here, because I know there's a ball game going on. Is it? I think it's Indiana and Oregon right now on CBS. So I'm not going to cut into that football game. Imagine the angry football fans there would be. So we're going to stay here on this live stream. We're going to look at this storm, talk about how much rain we can expect, the impacts that we're going to have. Doesn't have a name. You might have a name for it, like disruptive. You might have a different name, like dreadful, because it happens on my Saturday and in my Sunday. But if it is that case, just know it's raining hard all across eastern North Carolina at this hour. We can zoom in a little bit tighter. Hatteras getting some moderate rain right now. Duck is also getting quite a bit of rain all the way up to Currituck and really knocking on the door as it's sliding into southeastern Virginia at this particular time. If you're on this call, if you're watching right now and going, man, is he really here on a Saturday? Yeah, I'm here on a Saturday because the weather's happening, man. I have no control on when it happens, but if you've got a comment, let me know. I'd love to say hi to you, because this is your opportunity to make your voice known. I can put it on the screen. I got a note from Kim Thompson-Jones. She's one of my regular watchers during the week. She says, happy Saturday, David. Glad to see you here, Kim. I hope you're ready. Some of us might have our power flicker by tomorrow, because that's when the winds will pick up late tonight and into the day on Sunday. More on that in a second. But let me get to this storm, because I'm getting goosebumps just thinking I might come back. You know, I'm going to do like a 30-minute live stream now, but what if I came back and did another live stream tonight, like after the 11 o'clock news? Are you allowed to do that? I guess I can, until they tell me otherwise. That's what I'll plan on doing. Plan on me doing another live stream when weather gets even worse than it looks right now. It's pretty bad for North Carolina and may not be getting much better here in the coming hours. But let's zoom in. Let's see. I can see it's raining around Moyock. It's raining around Virginia Beach. Where are you right now? Where are you watching this live stream from? Let me know. I'll put your name on the screen. I got a note from Scott. Scott's being very kind. He's very kind. First time I've seen his note on here, he says, thanks for doing this. My pleasure, my friend. He says, what time should we expect rainfall here in Norfolk? Well, you tell me. It looks like, the radar, unless it's deceiving us, it looks like it's trying to rain right now. But I do think it'll get a lot worse after dark. Sun sets tonight, 6:33. But by the time we get to 11 o'clock and 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, it could be radically different and a very bad situation in terms of tidal flooding that'll come in tomorrow afternoon too. Now, if there's nothing that you get from this other than please download our free app. Do you know we have a free app? The app, the News 3, WTKR First Warning Weather app, is free. You can find it at the App Store, Google Play, but it also pairs great with the NOAA Weather Radio. I mean, if you have a NOAA Weather Radio, you know if you lose power, and maybe you didn't charge your phone overnight, that's a bummer, right? But just know that this is a great way to stay informed. Maybe you don't have time to watch a live stream at 11:30 tonight when I'm back on. That's fine. But I just want you to know that product is there. We're very proud of it, and we hope that you'll be able to utilize it in the coming hours or even days. Now, let's go ahead and one by one highlight what we have on the board from the National Weather Service from 2 to 10. Isn't it nice to have a telestrator? I wish I had one on this green wall in the studio, but I don't always have that luxury. I can tell you, gusts around 55 could take out your power in Virginia Beach. What? You didn't just say that. You said Virginia. Yes, and I'm saying Exmoor too could have some power outages by tomorrow, because it wouldn't take much. If you've got winds that are 30 to 40 sustained That's the expectation. I'm quoting them, you see. So all the orange areas, including Virginia Beach, including the Eastern Shore, has wind gusts up to 55 potentially. That's ugly, right? That could take down trees, that could take down power. So that's element number one. You want to keep track if you want to sketch this down on a pad of paper. Anyway, high wind warning, that's number one. Number two, we got a regular wind advisory. So if you're not under the high wind warning, that would be kind of a criteria. This is from 10 o'clock tonight. That also gives you more time, Scott. That's 10 p.m. tonight through 10 p.m. Sunday for gusts around 50. 50, that still could take out power. Oh, and we've also included Northeast North Carolina. Looks like Dare County's included. Looks like we can include Chesapeake in there for the wind advisory. And again, this runs from 10 o'clock tonight to 10 p.m. Sunday. So you've got a 24-hour period of time where you're like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. This is what's going to be on the menu. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm going to go ahead and pause here because I know that you're probably thinking, you mean I just have to write a comment and it show up? Yeah, if I can see it, it'll pop up on my screen. So if you have a question, great time to ask me. But I have come up with, as my Tennessee followers know well, a couple of years ago I came up with, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, I came up with the 4 stages of snow. Are we talking snow tonight? Well, bear with me. So the 4 stages of snow: denial, anger, because it's my weekend, and joy and acceptance. Some of us get to that point where when they know snow's coming or it's in the forecast, people are like, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. It's kind of that way with a coastal storm, right? We're just at the ding dong, we're just at the doorbell. If somebody's at the door, would you please get the door? It's the unwelcome house guest. The coastal storm with no name, we'll call it disruptive. We'll call it dreadful. Dreadful's coming in, going to put his feet up, and it's going to last for 24 hours, 10 o'clock tonight, 10 p.m. Sunday. Do you get my drift? This is one of the patterns that's not going to be a quick mover. In terms of the weekend, it's a slow mover, and that's the problem. That's the forecast challenge. I can communicate it and jump up and down, but if you don't necessarily change your behavior, what good does that do? And some of you will be in denial until you wake up tomorrow morning and you've lost your power. Are you saying that someone will have lost power by morning? Probably, especially if you've got winds of 50, 55. Some of you watching right now may not have power, so wouldn't it be a good idea to take my suggestion and charge your phone now? Make sure your phone is charged, because this is just one of many elements that's still yet to come. Did I mention coastal flood warning? Oh yes, we got one of those. And 2 to 3 feet inundation. That starts at 10 o'clock tonight as well. So yeah, the rain might be trickling in now, but really 10 o'clock tonight, right through 9 a.m. Monday, we have coastal flood warnings. Amazing. And if you want something really specific, how about this? Major flooding expected just from the tidal flooding from Sewell's Point, James River, Lynnhaven River at Lynnhaven Inlet, Yorktown, and of course Duck. You're looking at major flooding. Some say we haven't had this type of flooding in years. Maybe that's the case, but we'll have to wait until we get to these levels to say, oh, it's the highest in 5 years. No, it's the highest in 10 years, whatever. But whatever it is, it's high. So this means the puddles are going to get a lot bigger. For us, closer to the station, that means Lake Olney is going to spread, right? It's going to get bigger. It's going to be a bigger lake, sadly. And the time frame here is noon to 2 tomorrow. Does that make sense? So we got rain, we got wind, and then we got the tidal flooding. It's just one after the other after the other. So I'm hoping that you're mentally prepared for it. Maybe you've got your phone charged and you're ready to go. So I think having that app, having our First Warning Weather app, is a real benefit. Here's what the expectation is from the hydrologists at the National Weather Service for Duck. We'll start with North Carolina since they're getting most of the rain now. This goes to major 6.9 feet right around noon tomorrow. So that's not a pretty scene. I mean, it's going to be rough even Monday, but it's probably going to reach its fever pitch by tomorrow afternoon. Does that make sense? Let's go on to one more, Sewell's Point. Sewell's Point also has major flooding expected of 6.5. This occurs around 1 o'clock on Sunday. So really between noon, 1 and 2 p.m. tomorrow is when the tides are really going to come roaring on, and that's why it's so important that you be prepared to seek higher ground as needed. Let's see here. I got Kim, who has maybe an observation. She says that I'm going to illustrate her notes so she knows she said, I really don't think anybody's taking this seriously. Not yet, because right now it's the ding dong, it's the knock at the door, right? The house guest is at the door, but until the house guest puts his feet up on the couch and you're like, are you ever going to leave? That's what I'm using that analogy for this storm, right? The storm is already here. It's already in North Carolina. You don't need me. I showed you on the radar. but maybe it's still slow to evolve in the minds of those in Hampton Roads. Give it time. As I showed you, a lot of these things start around 10 o'clock tonight as far as some of these warnings, advisories, and so forth. So let me get back to the maps again. 6.5, this is Sewell's Point. James River at Sewell's Point. We'll go back to talk about the maps because, again, this will actually slow down on Monday. What about high surf? I wasn't planning on surfing today, David. Okay, maybe not tomorrow. But just know, when you got waves crashing 10 to 15 feet, that's pretty big. Right, and that covers the eastern shore. What time does that start? Isn't it amazing how all these times have different start and stop times? Different start and stop times. This one starts at 7 o'clock tonight. That's less than an hour away and will last until not 6 p.m. Sunday. That's 6 p.m. Monday. Oh my goodness, that's a long time. That's a house guest I wish wouldn't arrive. But let's go ahead and break it down because I think this will help. And also to note, I mentioned this yesterday on the air. I didn't live stream yesterday, but on the air I mentioned there are indications this low could split. It could peel off into two. And you're like, what? There's been a big debate whether we call this a coastal storm. Weather Service is there. Some were calling it a nor'easter if you're watching the Weather Channel or other products around the town. But I can tell you there's indications it'll split. And if it does split, this is the European model that suggests that occurs around 3:30 in the morning on Sunday. And it could go and become the nor'easter for Long Island and Massachusetts, for example, because it'll be whipping some winds there. But what's down across South Carolina might be the coastal storm. You mean this is going to be like a biology class of mitosis and meiosis. Two cells break apart. And then eventually they'll come back together. It's a very happy ending, but not for us. The storm itself might split by Sunday. And as this low goes up toward Long Island, it batters New England. And for us, we continue to see tidal flooding off the chart. So this is an ugly picture. We saw something in similar ways, I guess, earlier this year with Umberto and Imelda. We had two storms, but one was like pulling the other out to sea. We're not going to be so lucky here. We're going to be impacted, even though these slight changes in the track are still present. But eventually, by Tuesday, he says, finally, the house guest will leave. This unwelcomed house guest will leave. And once it does, and you can clearly see there's two lows here. I mean, I'll illustrate. You see there's white lines. There are two lows here. So eventually they emerge. They'll go back out to sea, and we'll see some really great looking weather on Wednesday. And dare I say, some of the coolest air of the season is coming next week. You want to see some cool air. I'm looking at upper 40s for Norfolk by the time we hit Friday morning. Boom, right? They were already dealing with freeze warnings and frost advisories for Harrisonburg, Virginia earlier this week. But now I think that our turn is going to some really chilly air, even closer here to Norfolk. Anyway, I get ahead of myself. Let's keep moving. I want to find out what you have to say, things that you're concerned about. Now's your chance. This is a live look at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. I do see some comments coming in. One from Ed, actually. Ed has a note, and we'll come back on the screen here. Ed has a follow-up note here. He says, can you give us an hour-by-hour estimate of conditions this evening? When will we see the worst of the conditions tonight? Very good. I think about 10 to 11, the rain will really pick up in intensity. The winds are going to pick up between 2 and 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is when the sun comes up. So it's kind of like a 1, 2. It's like waves. So really, I think 10, 11 o'clock tonight, rain picks up in intensity. Still raining, and as you'll see with the future cast, then it's followed up by the nasty winds from about 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. when the winds are gusting pretty close to 50, 55 when you wake up. That's my fear, that when you wake up, suddenly you're like, we have no power. My microwave is flashing 12 or such. Like your power, you'll know when you wake up that you lost power. But as we move into the afternoon, come tomorrow, I think certainly noon to 2 is when all the tidal flooding will become major for Sewell's Point, for Duck, for Lynn Haven, as well as all these areas I just mentioned are going to have some real issues going forward. Great question, Ed. I hope I answered some of it at least verbally, so I do have some graphical support to back me up on this. The weather headlines, as we're going right into coastal storm is here. Rain and gusty winds will intensify. That starts around 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Peak timing tonight through Sunday morning is the worst of this event. I think if you're around areas where, let's see here, if they're going through roughly major tidal flooding, it's noon to 2. So this is all coming in stages. Like it's a 3-punch, right? It's the rain, it's the wind, and then it's the tidal flooding. And they're all going to kind of intersect at times, but there will be periods, I think, in the afternoon where the tidal flooding will be the bigger story. because the rain will have majorly played its hand later tonight and into tomorrow morning. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully that makes a little more sense. Let me keep going because the pictures might be a big help as far as advertising what we expect. Our peak gust so far hasn't been that high. We had a peak gust at Norfolk International of 26 and Virginia Beach so far, 26. But if you look further south, Hatteras, 38. And I think these winds will increase as we head toward morning. Meanwhile, as we look at our wind gusts, and I clear the telestrator, these are the current wind gusts. So we have a 22 in Norfolk as of 6 p.m. We have a 24 in Virginia Beach and 23 in Manteo. Go back to the south. These are current wind speeds, gusts, I should say. Wind gusts at 6 o'clock, 30 in Hatteras, 24 in Virginia Beach. I'm going to keep moving because I do know there's some comments, but this is another look at the radar. I didn't want to loop it initially because this shows you the time. It's 6:15. And if it's 6:15 on your phone, if it's 6:15 on your Apple Watch, then this is about as current of an image I can show you. A lot of these bands in yellow still have to work their way here. And they will work their way up toward Williamsburg and Exmoor and Franklin, but you got to give it time. And as I mentioned, 10 to 11 p.m. is when I think it will intensify, which is another reason why I thought it would be prudent to do another live stream tonight around, say, Yorktown. Also major flooding, too. Sharon West was asking about that. Yeah, hopefully that made sense. But keep in mind, all of this tidal flooding will reach its fever pitch mainly this majorly happen between noon and 2 on Sunday. So that was one of the questions here. I think we have a question from, was it Sharon? Yes, I believe it was Sharon. What about York River? Major flooding in Yorktown. So we're going to have some issues right through tomorrow afternoon. Another look at the radar as it's moving. It is sliding up. So it's beginning to show signs of more intensity in yellow. That would include Ahoskie, that would include Elizabeth City, as well as Duck and Rodanthe at the moment. Got a couple of notes. Sharon West, actually Christopher, got a good question from Christopher. Christopher wants to know, what's the tornado threat for Virginia Beach? Not too expecting if it's 2% or less. There is a marginal risk between now and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for North Carolina. Another reason, another advertisement for our app. The First Warning Weather app will notify you if your head is on the pillow and you're sound asleep and you do get alerts, you will be notified. But again, it's 2% or less. I don't expect tornadoes to be the big story, as most of this, again, is going to be the heavy rain and the regular winds, straight line winds that we deal with at least tonight. So we'll have to watch that closely. Here's a look at the surface map right now, as this low is right off the coast of Cape Fear and Wrightsville Beach. So in southeastern sections of North Carolina, you have this low that's itsy bitsy spider slowly crawling up the line there. It's going to continue to move in the direction of the trough, which you see there in a broken black line. So right in here, that's where this low is trying to move, and we've already projected where it will be in the next couple of days. But because it's such a slow mover, it's going to have onslaught of rain, keeps moving up the coast, and eventually it might divide into two different lows. But we'll keep an eye on that. The bigger story is how much rain can you expect? I said before, and I'll say it again, I think 1 to 3 is still possible, which might exceed some expectations in southeast Virginia. 1 to 3. I still think you're in the 3 to 6, potentially in the Outer Banks. Maybe not everybody. 6 might be more on the high end of that spectrum, but there's still the potential. Some of these red areas are well over 3 or 4. And we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. There is even a little bit of orange down here. So I think the potential for this rain to exceed your expectations is on the table. Now, not all the models agree with that type of scenario, but then again, these models were not designed for tropical activity. Wait a minute, I didn't think this was a tropical. It's pseudo-tropical. It may not have the name Lorenzo, but the European model would suggest only an inch in Norfolk and about 1.5 inches for Edenton and Nagsett. I think it's going to be much, much higher. Wind gusts. This is just approximate, but notice the time. I said between 10-11, we're going to have some heavier rains intensifying, and the winds are going to really kick in after 2 a.m. and right through sunrise tomorrow. So we'll move this clock a little bit forward in time, and so you can see it's filling in the south side. Eastern Shore's got winds gusts over 30 and closer to 40. So again, these could be slowly inching up in the wee hours of the night. This is, of course, 9 a.m. Sunday, but the potential there in purple could put the coastline under much higher winds gusts, about 50-55, which is why the high wind warning was issued. Or at least has been put out by the Weather Service, as has the wind advisories. But certainly by the time we hit 11 o'clock Monday night, a lot of these winds are going to slow down. So once you're under 20, you're not out of the woods entirely, but you're seeing some big improvement. once we head toward Tuesday. Another look at Hatteras, for example, has 52-mile-an-hour gusts as early as 9 o'clock tonight. We haven't seen that yet. As we said, the peak gust so far was 38, but there's still time. It's only 6:15. No, it's 6:19 now. 6:19 now. So some of these winds will work their way up, and by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, you can see that everybody's dealing with a prolonged period of wind-battered, wind-driven rain sliding into the eastern shore and even into and along the Outer Banks. But low temperatures this morning, just for the record, we had a low of 66. That happened at 5:11 this morning. We finished the day at 70. And that happened at 3:40 this afternoon. Normal high is 74, so it is kind of remarkable that we've had a string of cool days, but you haven't seen cool until you get to later this next week. I'm thinking Thursday and Friday of next week may blow your mind about how cool it is. You're like, man, is this like what happened? What happened? Well, it's all because of the departure of this storm. You're going to see some cool air come back down. Beach forecast, I don't expect people to be hanging out on the beach, but it's good to know that the surf height's around 9 to 12, and the wind speed's generally 25 to 40. That's sustained tomorrow. So yes, the winds are going to be strong tonight. They're going to be strong once the sun is up tomorrow, and maybe nasty and gnarly right through 2 p.m. or later. I know the wind advisory lasts until 10 o'clock at night, but some of the strongest gusts may occur long before 2 p.m. tomorrow. Rain chances, I've got 80%. I think it's 100% tonight. Let me just go ahead and be clear there. 100% tonight. That's pretty high. You know, if you had a 100% chance of winning the Powerball, everybody like, I'd play. I'd play if I have 100, even if I had a 50% chance, I guess I would play. But some people, if you have a 100% chance of rain tonight, that means we're pretty confident that you're going to find some rain on your driveway, on your windshield. You're going to find it. And then it'll slow down a little bit to 80% by day, 30% I think on Monday, and then just trail off to nothing by the time we hit Wednesday and Thursday. So if you have some planning to do, if you're looking for great days to be in Hampton Roads and the Outer Banks amidst the cleanup, mind you, but those days should be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Some really good looking days are coming, so I would be remiss if I just told you the bad news. I don't want to tell you just the bad news. Tropical activity. You'll notice from the Hurricane Center, they do show the clouds, but they don't have an area of interest. Well, that's curious. They put a little X marks the spot here, so maybe this becomes Lorenzo. So what you're saying is this is a coastal storm with no name. That's what I said. That's what I said. And oh yes, if you were wondering about Jerry, the remnants of Jerry, that's it. Doesn't even look like it's going to keep moving. Never even became a hurricane, but the remnants of Jerry kind of staying put. 45 right there. That's where things are at the moment. As I catch my breath here and checking in with some other notes, John Savage is wanting to know about Fort Monroe. I'll have more updates when we do the news tonight, so I gave it as best as I could for the ones I have, but pretty much all is going to peak tomorrow afternoon, John. Thank you for your note. Let's see, I got a note from Erica. Hi, Erica. Great to see you. See, Erica's figured this out. She's got a very large picture, so I can see her wonderful smile, and she says, question, more serious to the point, how bad do you think it'll be for heading to church in the morning? It can be tough, especially if your church has lost power. That's why it's always good to check in. A lot of churches have an app, I imagine. You have some kind of email chain, but you want to check. Because again, those winds are going to be picking up and intensifying after 10, 11 o'clock tonight, after 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. tomorrow. That's when those 50-mile-an-hour gusts are projected to be knocking on the door in Virginia Beach and Norfolk. So it's going to be sliding up from North Carolina. North Carolina is going to have it several hours before us here in Norfolk. This is where I am, but everybody's going to have a different experience. Church, though, definitely call ahead. Make sure that they're still having services tomorrow if there are down trees in your neighborhood, because this neighborhood can be fine. This neighborhood, say, wasn't so good. It can really depend on where you are. So let me go ahead and back. We talked about Jerry. We had a storm named Karen. I don't know why. It was in the colder waters of the Atlantic. So that means Lorenzo. Lorenzo, that 40% chance could become Lorenzo. I don't hold much hope at this point that Lorenzo gets formed on the East Coast this week. Obviously, this is what's happening now, and the Hurricane Center just doesn't either identify it as a tropical feature, maybe it's minus the warm core. You can list a whole bunch of reasons why they're not going to name it, but it's a storm, right? And as I've always said before, if you have damage, and it really doesn't matter, I guess it does, but if you have damage, and you can look back in your life, maybe when you were a kid or when you got older and there was someone's shingles got ripped off a roof or this, that, it doesn't matter if it was straight line winds or a tornado, you still have to clean it up. And that's my point. Whether this has a name or not, whether you give it a name or not, this is disrupting our weekend, and it makes it a little bit dreadful when you have an unwelcome house guest. I'll continue on that theme because that's what we have to work through the next couple of days. All right, so let's keep moving. Here's the planner tomorrow. Heavier rains in the AM very early. Then it's more scattered noon, 4 and 8. So if we hit 70, fantastic. Do I think a lot of us will be parked at 70? No. I think we'll be most of the day in the mid to upper 60s. It's like being isothermal, lines of equal temperature. We're going to be pretty much holding steady across the board. But it is worth noting that those sustained winds, 25 to 40, gusting to 55, may occur right around sunrise or before. That's why I say church services and any activities you've got planned tomorrow, just know that they could be set back because of the loss of power, or a downed tree, or big puddles that really start moving in between noon and 2 with the tidal flooding. Suddenly you saw, like, there's a new lake here. I didn't see this before. I didn't expect this. But the showers will be more scattered as the day wears on. We did hit a high of 70 today. That's 2 days of 67 prior to that, and now a total of 8. But if you want to see a really cool, I'll say a cool day, I'll go ahead and project it. Before I show you my 7-day, I think the high on Thursday is 61, and I think the high next to Friday is 62. And I think we've got an upper 40. I think we could drop to 48 Thursday night. I mean, that's cold. That's something for this time of year. That's not even Halloween. So somebody'd say that's kind of ghoulish. But hey, if you're on a haunted hayride or at a pumpkin patch, some of you really like cheering that on. I like cooler weather, and that's all compliments of the departure of the unwanted house guest this weekend. All right, let me show you again. We hit 70, record high 88 from 2018 and 1990. So far, we've had no rain at the airport, but we know that'll change before midnight for sure. Dew points, the dryness, they're in the upper 30s right now in Beckley, West Virginia. Is that astonishing? It is to me. While it's 20 degrees more humid in New York City as compared to Beckley, we've got mid-60s, so it's sticky. I mean, 68 is pretty sticky too, but you've got all that moisture coming up the coast. Is it any wonder? And anytime you've got dew points in the mid-60s, like we have now, it tends to feel more humid. All right, let me give you the 6 o'clock update. As it's now 6:26, I'm going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, and I want to leave time for more interaction with you, because that's what this platform allows us to do. It is 66 in Suffolk, where they are under the 47th annual Peanut Fest. That was to go on yesterday and today and tomorrow. So I haven't kept up with the schedule, but they did have fireworks last night there. 68 Newport News, 67 Virginia Beach. Those are our current readings. 70 in Smithfield, 67 Elizabeth City, and it's 68 in Manio and Edenton, currently at 67 degrees. Got a couple of notes. I see Kim, she's very happy. I think she's very happy with the outcome of those temperatures. She's probably like cheering it on. But upper 40s, I mean, typically about 43, 45 degrees, and that's when you start seeing your breath. If you're up early, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody likes to see your breath in mid-October. Let's wait till at least Thanksgiving or maybe closer to Christmas or Hanukkah. One of those other holidays. You kind of wanted to be cool to get you in the holiday spirit, but we're not there yet. We are going to see some cooler air coming down later. So let me get back to these temperatures, as I'm looking at these numbers. 67 in Franklin, currently 66 in Ahoskie, and we have 69 in Kiptopeke. Temperatures right now, 72 in Knoxville, where I have quite a few friends and family that are still hanging out in East Tennessee. I got some college-age daughter at UT. Hatteras at 70, and I got Virginia Beach at 67. So you've got temperatures that are somewhat varied, but Myrtle Beach is at 65. Temperature outlook, 19 through the 25th. This is just a projection from our friends at the Climate Prediction Center. They put the cool air out here around, say, Nevada, around Idaho, by the time we get closer to Halloween, but the above normal temperatures may come back. We might flirt, I should say, next week, but of course, next Thursday and Friday would be the 16th and 17th. So that's kind of like, this is a projection even after that, if you're making plans. But if you want to see some cold air in blue, focus on Great Lakes, focus on places like New York State. Looks like New England could be pretty cool in the coming days. And the clock at the top here just gives you a good idea. Things will actually ebb and flow. It typically does this time of year, but it doesn't look that hot. When it's in these colors, cool colors usually are going to be below average. And Kim said she would take it in a heartbeat. Other comments that might be streaming in here, as I got to clear off my telestrator. That's one thing I tend to be slow to do, but I want to see if there's any notes here. Let's see. Alex White is making me laugh. Hello, Alex. He has a comment. He noted, and I believe this is what he had said. He said, "Remnants of Jerry." Sounds like a Grateful Dead cover band name. Maybe it is. Maybe like a tribute band. I see where you're going. You know, there was debate tomorrow. I believe in the Dave Matthews tribute band. I keep track of Morris Farm. How many of you have been to Barco, North Carolina? I love that place. Anyway, they got a farmer's market. But they would have Dave Matthews tribute band. I have not, I do not know whether that concert's still scheduled, but if they are playing under a canopy, they'll be able to maybe stay dry. But I like tribute bands. Grateful Dead, another one you could argue with, the Remnants of Jerry. Anyway, okay, we keep moving. It is now 6:30. I appreciate your time and your attention tonight, because I know these things are taxing. They're very worrisome for some. People get anxiety over it. I don't want that to be the case. We are a hardy bunch. We are going to get through this, I assure you. 70 for a high tomorrow, if we're lucky. 67 Monday, Tuesday. And I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag. 61 Thursday. And I think we're at 62 on Friday, with a low about 48 in the morning on Friday morning. That's going to be cool. I mean, that's a light jacket for sure, especially at the bus stop. Now, the normal high tomorrow is 74, but it drops to 73, the normal, by the time you hit Monday of next week. So we still have a gradual decrease in the normal highs this time of the month, this time of the year. That's to be expected. As we look at the Eastern Shore forecast tomorrow, it's going to be rocky. It's going to be very active. We've got a 90% chance of rain in Onancock and Bloxham. Chincoteague, about 100% chance of rain. It's all academic if it's raining on your neighborhood, which I suspect it will for a good part of the early morning. And as I come back on camera, because sometimes my computer likes to kind of flicker on and off, but Cape Charles, about 68 degrees, 67 in Exmoor, and 67 in Onancock. So I'm going to reboot this one particular screen. I'm dealing with multiple computer screens, but that's the beauty of having to multitask and trying to do it all at the same time. So I go back to my maps here. I believe I got that over here. 67 in Exmoor. Heading down to the Outer Banks, not a pretty day, but certainly might be improving in the afternoon. Manio, 70. Dags Head, 70. About 70 in Kill Devil Hills. Rodanthe, about 71. And about a 60% chance of rain for Hatteras by tomorrow once the sun comes up. 74 in Hatteras tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center is still focused on some of these colors. Now, this was the question somebody had earlier tonight about, do we have a chance for tornadoes? And I said, I think if we do have a chance of tornadoes, it's going to be less than 2%. I'm just double checking with my other, yep, that's where it is, 2% or less. And you might say, well, where is that specifically? Let me start with the bigger area. That's out west. This is between now and daybreak tomorrow. Isolated severe storms for your friends in Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and even parts of Colorado and Wyoming. But back home, you really have to zoom in tight. This is a part of southeastern sections and eastern North Carolina that include Morehead City. It includes Hatteras, and it includes Rodanthe. So if we do get an isolated spin-up tornado, it could include Dare County. Mainland Dare County, all the way down toward Atlantic, and maybe even well south of Duck. But that's where the severe threat right now exists. And usually these little things, the spin-ups, typically are EF0s or EF1s, but we'll keep an eye on that. It's just another reason. I've said before, I'll say it again, have multiple sources for information. Be sure to charge your phone tonight. Maybe check on your neighbors. Say, hey, are you doing okay? How much time does that take, really? If you say, hey, you know, I don't talk to this neighbor that often, but I saw him at the mailbox or I saw him across the street, just say, hey, is everything good? Are you good? Do you have enough food to last you if you lost power? Or if you just did just completed a grocery shop, you bought all sorts of food, maybe you put some of those precious items in a cooler in case you lose power. I don't know what would best be the advice. It's not one size fits all. But having an app and having a no-weather radio are great ways to stay informed if you're not inclined to watch a live stream. Like I said, I'll hope to do another one, plan to do another one tonight after the 11 o'clock news. So stay with me. We're not completely, totally done, not yet. Severe threat on Sunday, not an issue. As I mentioned, those isolated opportunities would occur, if they occur, in North Carolina between now and, say, 8 a.m. That's typically when their outlooks run through 12Z. That's 8 a.m. tomorrow. Severe threat on Monday is also absent. No coloring here. Had some coloring maybe for tonight in Salt Lake City, but really quiet weather after Monday. So far, here's where some of you might want to say, okay, give me the timing. We've already looked at the radar, and I'll go back to that here momentarily. But if this is 7 o'clock tonight, if this were the optometrist eye exam, is this better or worse? There's 8 o'clock. It probably looks worse for duck. How about 9 o'clock? How about 11 o'clock? Is that better or is that worse? Looks like it's worse for a husky. Maybe it slows down for Elizabeth City and the winds are still pretty brisk. That's 11 o'clock tonight. We had the question, could you show me hour by hour? So that takes us through the next couple of hours. Here's 1 o'clock. I'll do it every 2 hours here, right? So 1 a.m. Sunday. Now we're getting some intense rain. Where? Virginia Beach, in Norfolk. How do I know it's intense? Because the model is showing it as yellow and in some cases orange off the coast. And you can see these winds are just gnarly coming out of northeast of 20. That's sustained projection. And this is 1 o'clock in the morning. And many of you will probably try to be asleep. If you're a light sleeper, forget about it. You're probably going to have reasons to be back up. So again, I saved this graph, this map, toward the end just so that now that we've kind of established this thing's on its way, this is the way it may look at 1 o'clock in the morning. And as we go further in time, 3 in the morning, now the orange is in here. The orange, what is that? That's the more intense rain. The more intense rain is the orange, and you can see that stretching essentially from Back Bay back toward Elizabeth City and into areas around Chowan County perhaps, or into Pasquotank or Perquimans County. So we're still dealing with a lot of heavy rain at 3 in the morning. And that's when someone might lose power, right? 5 in the morning, it's already up into Williamsburg, into Exmoor, if not before that. And if I'm not mistaken, the 20s now 24, so the winds are picking up. So you've got some really strong winds that are coming and nipping at the heels of the heavy rain that's already begun. And all this while many of us are asleep, sound asleep, in their homes and in their beds. Now, 7 a.m. tomorrow, some of you might be getting up, and maybe you're going to, in the case that we had from a moment ago from Erica about church. 7 a.m. you might say, hey, it's not looking great. The weather, like those winds and the rain, did you hear that last night? Sure did. Now what number do we have? I think it's 28. We went from 20 to 24. Now it's 28. You said sunrise. That's right. That's why I said between 2 and 7 or sunrise. The sun's up tomorrow at 7:10. Well, that's close enough. 28 sustained. You're going to have gusts probably closer to 45, 50, 55. And so that's why I said some of you may lose power just before or after the sun comes up. So the rain might be more spotty back here. It's like broken up. But the intense rain, I think, will occur while many of us are asleep. Let me keep going. 9 a.m. Well, it doesn't look that bad, but what's happened is the winds have picked up. Oh, now it's 30 sustained. 30 sustained, and this is 9 o'clock in the morning. So are you getting the sense that this is kind of like a prolonged, unwelcome house guest? The storm that I'm calling Dreadful is going to stick around, put Dreadful's feet up on the couch and say, I like it here. Oh, we don't like Dreadful being here, but you give it some time, there might even be some sun breaking out. That's what this would suggest. And by now, oh my goodness, that's when all the crazy tidal flooding is. Have you seen this flooding? It's terrible. Yes, it will be major across many of the boards. Yorktown, major flooding. Duck, North Carolina, between noon and 2 tomorrow, major flooding, as well as James River at Sewell's Point, as well as Lynnhaven River at Lynnhaven Inlet. All of this to say, this is just getting started. The coastal storm is just ringing the doorbell right now, and right now is 6:37 in the evening. Winds are still busy. They've come down a little bit, right? They're still 27, and the rain isn't even a big story. It's the fact that the flooding, all the damage is done now. We've had a lot of wind, we've had a lot of rain, and now more tidal flooding, and now it's the cleanup, right? We're like, is this going to get any better? The answer is yes, it will. It'll get a little bit better on Monday, vastly better on Tuesday, and just so sweet looking with sunshine on Wednesday. This is 11 o'clock Sunday. This is tomorrow night. This is more than 24 hours from now. Still winds are 23. It's better than it was 30. But look at it's still raining at times. And so if you continue to think about what I call the 4 stages of snow, you could extrapolate that, the 4 stages of coastal storms. Say, I'm in denial, or I'm really angry because it's happening on my weekend. You know how that goes. Or maybe you're joyful. Maybe you just love a good thunderstorm. Maybe you could love a good rain, but maybe not like this. This is not necessarily anybody's cup of tea. But even though we're 11 o'clock Sunday projected, there's still going to be some showers around, and it's still going to be highly unsettled. So again, you can see that spin. A lot of the energy wants to move up toward Long Island, or at least one piece of it, while another low, a remnant low, could hang out off the coast of South Carolina. So like I said, it could fall apart into 2 pieces. It could peel off into 2 distinct lows as we head into Sunday night, Monday. Monday at noon, it's still pretty cloudy. Not a whole lot of rain here. I left a 30% chance on Monday, but you can see a lot of it stays up toward Chincoteague or Onancock or Exmoor, right? Up across the eastern shore. This is representative of 5 p.m. Monday. Winds are much, much slower. So Monday is not the day to dread. Monday is kind of like we're just waiting for this thing to finally get out of here. And you will see the clouds are still with us 11 o'clock Monday night, and eventually things will improve. All right, it's 6:39. I've gone on long enough. I want to leave more time for your comments, questions, or concerns. And as I mentioned before, I will be doing this again at 11:30 after the 11 o'clock news tonight because I love you. That's why I do it. I don't do it because I'm under duress or I'm being told you got to do this. I do it because I love what I do and I want to make sure you're safe. I want to make sure your neighborhood, because everybody has a neighborhood that we're part of and we're all we got, and we got to take care of each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm here to do. You may not like the way I tell the story, but it's a story that I think we just have to be prepared. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But boy, when it gets better, it's going to be really good, especially if you like cooler air next week. All right, so the temperatures tonight, low to mid 60s. That's where we expect to be. 63 for Franklin, 66 for Hampton, 67 for Duck, and 65 in Edenton. Low temperatures in Melf, about 62, and about 66 for Norfolk. I expect 63 in Cortland. And for Sunday afternoon, I'm losing track of time. Sunday afternoon, we'll be lucky to crack 70 on the south side. Peninsula is generally upper 60s, but if you do get above 70 tomorrow, it may very well be where the sun pops out, maybe in North Carolina like Currituck, or maybe areas around Edenton could get a little bit warmer. I got Elizabeth City at 71, I got Edenton at 73, and about 69 for Hampton, Portsmouth, 68 Suffolk, and 69 for Virginia Beach. Highs tomorrow, not all that warm in Smithfield, 68, but 70 for Corolla and 70 for Nags Head. Here's your first warning, WTKR News 3 7-day forecast. You're the first to see this. Oh, I got to post my article. That's coming up next. I'll have to get that on the line, but that's my next task. But I want you to see the wind-driven rain is the main feature. I've got a 100% chance of rain tonight, 80% chance once the sun is up tomorrow. And once we get into next week, oh, is that safe for it? That must be a typo. No, that's not a typo. But I do have oodles of sunshiny skies on Thursday and Friday. You'll be hard-pressed to find even a cirrus cloud. What's a cirrus cloud? Those high, thin clouds. You will see a beautiful outcome for Thursday and Friday. So that's the payoff. Even Saturday looks pretty good at 68. You might not like it at 61, but we're going to drop about 10 degrees from Wednesday to Thursday. Does anybody have anybody protest that idea? Would you like it to be cooler on Thursday versus Wednesday? What choice do we have? It seems to be where we're going down the road. I got a note from Beverly Jean. She's on here, and she has a question. She says, will the higher gusts be mainly along the coast? Yes, we can assume that. But I'm seeing some profiling for Norfolk. These thermodynamic profiles would suggest we're going to get enough momentum transfer. We could see a 50-55 gust in Norfolk International. So yeah, it's close to the coast, but depending on how far west you are. If you're in Suffolk, if you're in Franklin, I expect to be closer to 45-50. But that's still strong enough, Beverly, good point. It's still strong enough to knock out power, or at least cause the lights to flicker. So that's what I say. If you just completed a grocery shop, or if you know somebody has a lot of valuable things in their refrigerator, and if you lost power, I'd start biting my fingernails. Don't do that. Just know you got to be prepared. Early preparation is always the key. So make sure you charge your phone, download the First Warning Weather app so you can get the notifications in real time. You'll get it faster than I can cut into a TV show or a sporting event, which I'm not doing at the moment, but I will be back on for live streams tonight on the same Facebook page at 11:30 after the 11 o'clock news, because I think it's important. So we can just kind of set the narrative, set the stage, and expectation that it's going to get worse overnight, not get better. It'll get better eventually when we get to Monday, Tuesday, and you can clearly see it'll get really better by the time we hit Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So take your pick. This is the expectation. Wind-driven rain is coming. The worst of this unwelcome house guest, known as Dreadful, coming into town, and may linger here for just another 24 hours or more before things get any better. So that's the way things are setting up. Just want to reset, just to let you know I appreciate you all being here. This is one of the situations that Nobody likes these types of storms. At least I don't know anybody that likes them. But when you have to deal with them, it's very important that we take care of each other. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter if your weather is sunny or if it's serious. Clearly, it's pretty serious tonight into tomorrow. But just know that every day is a gift. Make the most of it in your neighborhood. We'll see you here later tonight. Take care.